Okay, good evening. Okay, we're learning again for Fush Lema, but Hadassah Bela Bas Frumet Rachel, and for Yonis and David ben Devorah Rachel. Okay, we're up. We're doing the sugya of being Matar Kalim. We said that they were in the process of they went through their yayin stamyenum yayin nesach. We saw depending upon with a wine press and depending upon the material it's made from, you could have one of four ways to go ahead and kasher it. One was hadacha, just simply washing it out. That's level two was niguv. Niguv means drying, but today we'll get a much more sophisticated in pshat and what niguv is. Kiluf, which was again they used to pitch the inside to go ahead as a sealant, and they'd put wine in that, and sometimes it's necessary to peel that off. And finally, the way is called milui ve'irui, that we saw that early in the Masechta, filling it up and for 3 days and going ahead and then going and pouring it out, filling it out, pouring it out. So again, today's daf is very much a continuation of that thing. So we're starting on Ayin Zion. Excuse me, Ayin Zion. There is no Ayin Zion. This is good. Off to a roaring start. We're off to Ayin Dalit on the base. We're about 6-7 lines up. Darish Rava. If you want to skip everything, you don't want to deal with everything, it says Navar as arsecho. Go ahead and scald it out. Now go ahead, you throw a bunch of hot water in there. Rashi says, Hagas harisichu beroischin nava kimo yitufin nava means boiling hot water will do the job. Very interesting taisus over here, fellas. Exactly how this is accomplished. And just get a machloikis, a tam of a machloikis, but not halach lemaisa. Machloikis in Rabbeinu Tam Rashbam. Let's see this taisus a little bit. Dorish Rava Navar Arsachai Pirish Higilu Hagisais Hagadoilim. Go ahead and do Hagala in these big wine presses. Mikanam Rabbeinu Tam the irui kli rishain, that an irui is considered like a kli rishain, like a first kli. Midama hacha da yidei irui maflid hayayin habalua begas. Through yayin, it's going to go ahead and take out the wine that's absorbed in the gas. Because obviously it has to be al yidei irui, because you can't go ahead shahari hagas gedoylo kveda shenyecholim l'sita l'tech yoyra meruseches. It's not possible. When we do hagala, what do? We take the object we want to go ahead and kasher and put it in boiling hot water, right? How can you take a huge wine vat and put it in boiling hot water? You can't. So obviously it must be that what? You're taking hot water and dumping it in. And therefore it's a good raya that it'd be like iru kilishan. It must be al yidei irui. V'hashta kivin the havi kli rishain, since the irui is like a kli rishain. In Cain hani kelim shenesu al yidei kli rishain sagilu ba'gala al yidei irui. There's a kli got become asa al yidei kli rishain. You can go ahead and kasher it the same way, because we have the rule of kibbala kach paltai. Aval Rashbam choylik al Rabbeinu Tam. V'amar the irui ki kli shenihu legamri. V'hai the mashmahacha the gas sagile be'irui. Guys, Rabbeinu Tam is a very, very strong practical pshat. How in the world are you going to go ahead and dump it in? If you're telling me irui is like klisheni, nafkamina fellas, that you would not be able to kasher a kli rishon al yedei irui. You would not be able to kasher a kli rishon al yedei irui. So why then are you able to kasher a gas al yedei irui? Says the Rashbam, right? Shiny yayin nesech the tashmish al yedei tzainin. Guys, yayin nesech is you don't have a hot gas, you have a cold gas. So in other words, if the belia, if the absorption was al yedei heat, it wouldn't be enough to use irui. It's because the gas, the absorption took place through what? Through cold, therefore irui can work. But vis-a-vis, if you would have a kli that absorbed al yedei kli rishon, irui taka, irui would not work. Why? According to Rashbam. Nafkamina between Machlokes between Rabbeinu Tam and Rashbam, whether it was Kli Rishon or Kli Sheni. Also, you have Nafkaminas the guys in Hilchos Shabbos, right? In Hilchos Shabbos regarding Bishul. Okay, this I just wanted to give you a little time, literally, from this taisus. Okay, so that's right. That's Rava's eitzah. Rava ki having meshada gulpi laharpanya. He would go ahead and send gulpi, our empty barrels, kadam rekim, to the place of harpanya. Safech lehu apamayu. He would go ahead and turn over the kli. He would send the kli in a bag, but the opening of the kli would be inverted and it would be facing the bottom of the bag. Upian lamata mishum choisim b'tei choisim. So in other words, guys, you picture a bag. You invert the kli. So that's one choisim because the opening of the kli is facing the bottom, and by tying at the top, now you have a double seal. Now you have a double seal. Right. And then he would go ahead and of course ksavar kol davar shemachnisei lekiyim, anything that what your machnisei lekiyim afilu lefisha, even for a short period of time, gazu beirabanan. Right. Okay, Rashi kol kli shemachnisei lekiyim afilu ein moisrin lo'evik kichavim el lefisha, even though it's going to be within a short period of time, gazu beirabanan ki yayin atzma. They were guys like yayin itself. In order that should not remain for a long time in the hands of the guy. It shouldn't remain in a long time. Now, the Mishnah said that there's something called nigov. Gash 11 shezavsa. We said minagva. Nigov is dry. What does that mean? Dry. Benai minagva. And how do you dry out this gas? Rav Omar b'mayim. Rav says with water. Rabbi Bar Chana Amar be'efer with ish. One says with what? With says now. Fred the Gemara. Rav Amar b'mayim v'loy be'efer. In other words, I think what his kasha is if you just put water in, that's hadacha. So it must be that drying means that you are taking some of the moisture out. Drying means you're taking like a drying agent. You're taking like the moisture out. Okay, so it must be. So it can't be mayim without efer. And Rabbi Baruch Hanam efer be'efer v'loy b'mayim. What's efer going to do without water? So Ella, what do you have to say? Amid Aleph. Ella Rav Amar b'mayim v'hu adin le'efer. You need both. Rabbi Baruch Hanam Amar le'efer v'hu adin le'mayim. Right. V'loy pligi, and they're not arguing. Ha b'ritivasa. If it's speaking that it's it's still moist. The press. What do? You first put afer in, the afer then will absorb, and then you put water in. Habiyaveshta, where it's dry, and if you're going to put the afer in, it's going to be dry. So what do? You make it moist. So you put the water in first. Okay, so that's the chiluk. By a dry, you put in the afer first, by water first, and by a moist, you put in. I said the opposite. By a dry, you put in water first, and by a moisture, by a ritivasa, you put in afer first. Now we're going to see a very cryptic line. It's very cryptic. Itmar beirav mishmei derav amri tarti tlas 2-3 shmul omet tlas dalid 3-4 besura masni hachi that way. Pumbedisa masni beirav amri mishmei derav tlas dalid ushmul omet dalid hey. Okay, so I sent out a little chart today. Let's go through it. It's from Rabbi Kornfeld. The chart. Okay. Okay. On the chart, there's two pieces, guys. I'm only doing the first. It's a machlokes. The chart brings in two shittas in Rashi. Rashi's father versus Rashi's Rebbe. We're going to do Rashi's Rebbe. Okay? So now, what does it mean 2-3, right? And 3-4. So look at Rav. Ritivasa Yeveshta. Going across the top axis. In Surah, they learned 2. What does 2 mean? You put in 2 things. Efer and Mayim, which would make sense. If it's Ritivasa, if it's moist, what are you putting in first? Efer. What are you doing next? Maya. The Pumpadisa, they learned 3. Efer, Mayim, Efer. Good? That's what they would do. First, they put in afer, then mayim, then afer. So they did one more step. Now, they didn't consider the last water over here because the last water wasn't part of the kashering process. It was a cleansing process. It was getting rid of, as part of the cleansing. Shmak. Okay, now Yeveshta, going to the next one line. So now that's pshat in tarti, guys. What's pshat in tlas? Mayim, afer, mayim. If it's dry, what do you got to put in first? Water, then the afer, then the mayim, and this is part of the process. Good. In Pimpadisa, going back, guys. Now they learned 3-4. Afer mayim afer, Mayim Afer, Mayim Afer. Okay, so so they were a little more stringent in Pumbedisa than they were in Surah. That's Shitas Rav. What about Shitas Shmuel? Ritivasa, he goes 3-4 instead of 2-3, 3-4. So his 3 is by Ritiva is Afer Mayim Afer, and his draw is Arba Mayim Afer Mayim Afer. And what about Pumbedisa? That is in Pumbedisa it's 4-5. Afer Mayim Afer Mayim. Chamisha is Mayim Afer Mayim Afer. Now in Pumbedisa we're tiny. There's no machlokes over there. Guys, it's no machlokes. So why did Shmuel consider 4-5 instead of 3-4? Because Shmuel considered, fellas, the last mayim. Take a look at the chart. You see, Shmuel has it's the exact same thing as Rav. Look at Rav's 3. Afer mayim afer. Look at Shmuel's 4. Afer mayim afer. And the fourth one is mayim. So he considered the last mayim as part of it. Look at Rav's 4. Mayim afer mayim afer. Look at Shmuel's 5. Mayim afer mayim afer. That's the same. And finally, Mayim is what? So therefore, you're considering. Okay, Rashi's father. I don't want to mix up things, but he learned that just simply, R2 is going on Ritivasa. If you just take a look quickly at Rashi's father, he's learning the 2 is going on the Yeveshta. You see, it's Surah on the Yeveshta. Okay, that'll take care of a lot of words with a long Rashi very quickly. Thank you, Rabbi Kornfeld. By the way, again, it's a wonderful site. It's been around from the beginning of Daf Yomi. It's well known to people who this is before the current social media stars. It's called the Daf Yomi Advanced Forum. It's chock full of anything you want to know, and his charts are just from. Again, if you're a visual learner, the chart puts things together very, very nicely. For a Maggid Shir who wants to go ahead and give over this piece quickly, it's wonderful.
What's it called? What's the name of the site?
Daf Yomi Advanced Forum. If you Google Daf Yomi, it'll show up. Okay. Boy minei merabavo. Now, a lot of these things, you have to be a winemaker to know exactly what they are. Okay? So, Hani Gurgei Darmoy. Rashi says these are net-like things that you would go ahead. Guys, view a wine press, right? Whatever the press is, you got to start with grapes. You know there's got to be grapes there. View a pile of grapes on top. We'll call that the tapuach. A tapuach is like literally, tapuach usually means a pile. As a matter of fact, the ish on the carbon in the middle is called a tapuach. So if you would just go ahead and smash that down, they would scatter. They would have a net-like apparatus around this that would, as you pushed it down, it kept them intact. That seems what the gurke is. That seems to be what the gurke is. So the armoy it belonged to goyim. Mai, how do you kasha that? Amler vavo tinisua. You learned a halacha in Tyrus, and we could apply it to kashering ayin nesach. Hari shahayu gisav ubeisbadav tameyin. A gas is a wine press. A beisbadav is an olive press. They're both tameyin. Ubikesh lasoisim b'tayra. And now you want to go ahead and make Torah wine, and you make Torah olive oil. Hadafim, guys. The dafim are on the press. You'd have boards that you'd push down. You'd push them down. Let's picture the press. You have some type of weight at the top, pushing on boards that are pushing on the grapes. Hadafim, v'ho'adoshim, the gas itself. The lulavim, they would go ahead and they would, when the grapes would scatter, they would use it as a broom. Madichim, that's enough hadacha. All you have to do there, what is hadacha? For akolim, and that's the akolim is the gurge, guys. That's the lattice work. Shel notzim, it was made from palms. V'shel batsputs, which is linen, minagvon. That will require the process of mayim and afer. V'shel shifa, v'shel gami, miyashtin yubes chodesh. That you'd have to wait 12 months. So you can't get that out right away. You have to wait. Guys, this is all if you don't do irui and milui. Just remember from the early in Masechta. This is all if you don't do irui and milui. If you do irui and milui, you can go ahead and in 3 days kasher it. Not 12 months, but manigim me gas legas or mi bad lebad from the wine pressing and the olive pressing, which l'chara takes place once a year. So it takes place once a year. Pashtus, you're speaking 12 months. So hainu tanakama l'chara, that's the tanakama. And for the Gemara, it could be nayu is churfi v'afle. The difference would be an early season or a late season. Then sometimes it can be before 12 months, or sometimes if it gets or if it's late, it can be after 12 months. Rabbi Yossi Yoima, haroitz l'taroin miyad, magilim b'roischin. You either go ahead and do hagala, or choltim b'meisesim, or scald it b'meisesim. I'm not exactly sure, but olive oil, how that process would work. But introducing heat is a means of getting out something that was what absorbed in a wall. Rav Shem Gamliel, Omer, Mishum Rabbi Yossi, name Rabbi Yossi, Omer, manichim tachas tzinor, leave it underneath a pipe, shemeimav mekalchen, that the water, guys, is what is flowing. Leave it underneath the pipe that the water is flowing. Or in ma'ayan, or in a ma'ayan, in a fountain where its waters are moving. And the kama, how long? Aina, for an aina. Kiderach shamru b'yayin esach, kama b'tairis. And the same way of kashrim, we say b'yayin esach, we're saying b'tairis. Now, guys, if you've been listening, we've been speaking about tairis. We weren't speaking about yayin esach. So you're saying, just like we say by yayin esach, you say by tairis, that makes no sense. It says, Meklapi laya, are you going in the right direction? B'tairis kaimin. All we've been speaking about now is going ahead and being mitayir to do it b'tairis. You haven't been speaking about yayin esach at all. Ela kiderach shomer b'tairis, kacham b'yayin esach. Kama, you know what exactly is the no? You know that share? Amar Reb Chia Baraba, Amar Reb Yochanan, or Yoim Laila, either a day or a night, which is 12 hours. Rav Chana She'ina, I never saw that name before. That's the name, guys. Rav Chana She'ina. Vimri Rav Chana Bar She'ina. Right? Amar Rabba Rav Chana, Amar Reb Yochanan, Chatzi Yoim Chatzi Laila. Amar Rav Shmuel Yitzchak V'lei Pligi, not arguing. Habit Kufis Nisim B'Tishrei. Guys, Kufas Tishrei and Nisan and Tishrei, basically you have 12-hour days and 12-hour nights. So it's 12 hours. Habit Kufas Tamas for Teves, where you have a longer day or a longer night, then you're going to be what, half and half to make what, 6 and 6 to make 12. Rabbi Yehuda. Hani Rafki de Armoy. Okay, again, what are Rafki? Seems to be some type of sack that they would carry in Shmarim. They would go ahead, they would take the leads, they put them in the sack, and what would happen it would be it would be present. I guess they would trip out, as a means of they didn't want to lose any wine at all, and so they kept it. Rashi says 2 lines in the bottom: Mishmeres kimin sakin shenoisna behen shmarim. They put the leads in there, the crushed grapes. Lahitzias yeina to take out the yeina, so maybe you could smash that down. But that's what these sacks were. So hani rafki darmoy dimazya. If it was made from here, matichim. It's enough adacha, meaning it's not going to absorb. The imra, if it's made from wool, minagvon, you need the step number 2. You would need the process of water and ish. The kisna, if it's made from linen, miyashna, you need 12 months. The ikka and if there's in any one of these things, pashtas a knot, sharilu, you have to undo the knot. Hani dekule v'chalsa darmoy. So no. Let's say there's a knot in it. Before you do the process, untie the knot. Don't do the cleansing process. No, this is the knot in the thing. Let's say in addition, let's say this thing is enough adacha. If you have it tied like a knot, it won't get in there. So you untie. No, that's not a knot. That's the thing. A knot has that when you knot something, that's not natural. That's not natural, and that's going to block more than when something goes through. Okay, so you have these the kuli v'chalsa is a type of strainer. Right? It's a type of strainer, and chalsa seems to be made look like a beehive, but it's a strainer. And the kuli v'chalsa darmoy the chiti b'chavle the bitsuri. If it's tied with what the part of a palm tree that you could use as a thread. So if it's tied with that, matichim, it's enough adacha middays. The tzipsa, if it's made with some type of, Rashi says gemi, it's a type of gemi, rubber-like substance. Lenagvon, you would need niguv. The kisna, as we saw before, the linen seems to absorb a lot. Then miyashna, you need 12 months. The isbu kitri, and if you have kitri, then sharilu. It seems to be machloikis if that kitri is going back on all of them or just on the kisna. Itma. I'm a oritz shahoishit yadei legas, and I'm a oritz that goes ahead and he takes his hand and places it in a wine press. The noga bashkoilis. So the wine, it hasn't. You have wine there, and you have clusters of grapes, and he touched the cluster of grape. Question: is the whole just the cluster? How? To what extent are we metama? To what extent are we metama? The noga bashkoilis. Rabbi v'Reb Chad Omar eshkol b'chol svivoisav. The cluster itself and all around it. That I guess that it's touching. Tamein v'chol gas kul tahir, but all the rest of the gas would be tahar. No, kol gas kul nami tamei. The whole gas is tamei. So you're telling me over here, if you're touching the cluster and it only is matama the cluster, it's only that area, it doesn't extend to the rest. What about this case over here? A Mishnah in Tyrus in the ninth parach of Tyrus, Mishnah Ches, Sheret Shenimsa Berechayim, a shemish that's found not where this is where you're crushing olives. Before they put the olives, they would go ahead and crush them. So, or you grind them. A sheretz is found by the olives. Only the place you find that it's touching. Mashkin, mahalech, and if there's not only what it's touching, but there is oil that olive oil exuding out of the olives, then hakol tameh. So in other words, here's the question: you have a Mefurish Mishnah that says if you have olives and it's touching the olives, the sheretz, it's going to extend to what? The oil that's surrounded mitama everything. Yet you're telling me over here there's an opinion, if an Amoretz touches the cluster of grapes, it's only going to be limited to that area and not go ahead and extend. Why? In both cases you have a liquid and you have the venue that it should be able to extend. So what's the difference? And that the Gemara answers, Hasam loy mafsik. An olive is not mafsik, v'loy midi. Hacha mafsik ashkolias. Over here, the eshkol, it has a cluster. It's lying, and it seems to be a barrier, so it can be limited to that area. Masha'en came the grapes, which lie, the olives, which lie, they don't have a cluster. They're just separate olives. If you touch one, it's going to extend throughout the oil throughout the whole olive press. Earlier, Rabbanal Rabbi Yirmiyah, Vimila Lebrei Rabbi Yirmiyah, Kidirei Oimer, like the Mekel, Eshkol, the Chol Sivaisav Tamei, and Eshkol in the air, in the surrounding areas is Tamei, the Chol Gas Kulat the Hayra, and all the rest of the gas will be tar. Says the Mishnah, the last Mishnah in our Masechta. Okay, we're familiar with something. We have a Chumash here. Great. Thank you so much. I'm sorry to make you get up. We learn higher from the Kalim from Kli Midyan. It says in Perichav Aleph in Bamidbar, Perichav Aleph in Perek Lamed Aleph, excuse me, Perek Lamed Aleph in Bamidbar, Pasik Kaf Aleph. It says, Vayomer Allah Zakoin Elanshi Hatzava Haboyim Muhammad Zois Chukas HaTorah Asher Tziv Hashem Es Moshe Ach Es HaZohav Yes HaKosef Es HaNechoishes, all these metals, Es HaBarzel, Es HaBedil, Es HaFares, all these metals, Kol Davar Sheyavoi Be'esh, anything that goes through fire, anything that goes in fire, literally probably is something is cooked. Taviru Be'esh, you have to go in and put it in fire. V'toher, and then it says the word V'toher. B'mei nida yischata. Mei nida means paraduma yischata. So pashtus, you would think that a kli that's used, you would need to go ahead and have paraduma water sprinkled upon it. Okay, so this is the process of kashering, and we're going to see that there's the rule of thumb by kashering, kibolo kach polto. Just like it goes in, that's the way it comes out. That's the way it goes in, comes out. That's the problem with a kli cheres, because once it goes in, it does not come out. Okay. A keli that you're using, you buy what from a guy, something that you normally just do tefillah, yatfil. That you do tefillah on. Rashi says, kloimar. Kli roi litar b'tefillah. A kli that's roi to be Torah yidei tefillah ain't tzarich tikkun aket. There's no other tikkun necessary. Kigoin, for example, Kli tashmisha yedei tzainin yatbul v'sulei tzarech. Something that you use for tzainin, you don't need anything more than that. You buy it, we go, you get married, spend half of your early married life being toivel kalim, right? We're smiling. Remember those days, right?
They hire people.
They hire people today.
Google.
Really?
Yeah, their services.
Remember, there's always you toivel, and you always found that little sticker that you missed, right? We all had the same experience. And anyway, so you buy a kli. That's all. You mitar. That's it. That's a tyra. Lahagil, a kli that was used in boiling hot water, right? Let's say a pot or kedera or made of metal. Yagil, the way to be mitar is al yedei what? Purging or hagala. L'lavin ba'or, a kli that was used al yedei what? Libun or in fire itself. Yalabin ba'or. For example, hashpud, which is a spit. For askala, Rashi says a griddle. Rashi griddle. Go ahead, and that labi ma'or. Hasakin, the sakin is shaifa is a lashon of rubbing, scraping v'hitahoira. Okay, so now, in addition to all these things, fellas, you need a mikvah. Tana, so v'kulan tzrichin tefillah. After you went through the process of cleansing them, right, you would have to go ahead and put them in a mikvah. So you matar something, it goes in a mikvah. V'kulan tzrichin tefillah ba'arbaim sa. They all need mikvah what? Of 40. Minani mili. How do you know that? So Amarava, the Amakra, Kol Dava Sheyavoy Be'esh. The pasuk said anything that Yavoy Be'esh, Tavira Be'esh. You go ahead and you put it in Esh, and it says an extra word, right? You know, what does it say? What's the extra word? V'toher. V'toher, that's an extra word. In other words, you just told me anything you put goes in fire, you put in fire. So that's what you do. Why do you have to tell me V'toher? The Torah is telling me that if it's in fire, it's not enough to go ahead and put it in fire. There's something else that you have to do. And what is that? That's to go ahead and put it in a mikvah. So the extra word v'tahar. Tani bakapara. Mitoy shenemar. It says b'mei nida. I would think what? Shemei ani shetzarach hazah shlishi b'shvi. I would think you need to go ahead and need hazah for what? For what, day 3 and day 7, like the normal process of what? Of being mitar. In other words, you don't need that. So now if you don't need it, what does they mean neither? Guys, if we would need 3 and 7, none of us we have a problem with kalim. If you ever get a kli from a guy, you never be able to use it, right? You never be able to kasha. You never be able to kasha. We don't have paraduma. So why does it say may nida? What's the purpose of saying that? And kema tamalem may nida. What does it say may nida? Mayim shenida tevelis behem. It's a mayim that a nida is tevelin. So guys, here's where we read the pasuk. Kol davar sheyavo be'esh taviru be'esh. And v'toher you put it in a mikvah, right? Ach b'mei nida. So we have a second pasuk to tell me the same thing. You're putting in the water of a nida. So we'll make it tzrichas in a second. Okay, guys, do you use a mikvah 40 sa? The Tari Kalim? I don't know about you, I don't. You go to a Kalim mikvah, there's no 40 sa in a Kalim mikvah. What? No. So look at Taisus. Guys, look at Taisus. Mayim shanida teveles. Taisus is a kasha. Anida has to go in a mikvah 40 sa, but we don't. Afagav the revius sagi lahatvil machdim mit sinoris midaraisa. Midaraisa, your mamish can use a puddle. Hainu tfilis tuma. Aval tfilis kli midyon chidishu uboy memsa. The chiddush, in other words, we don't have kli midyon. We don't have kli midyon. We have kalim. We can put in a mikvah. The kli midyon was a chiddush that they needed 40 sa. There's a miyuchid, that din of 40 sa was miyuchid for kli midyon. Therefore, we never use a mikvah 40 sa.
It's not choshen avodah zarah today. That's what.
What?
It's something with avodah zarah.
No, not just not. It's this din of kashering. This is not new with avodah zarah.
No,
This is just kli midyon. That was that time. So we extrapolate some halachis, but again, this that we use, as long as we have a mikvah midaraisa, it's good. Okay. Make advice is 40 sa, yeah.
So just say you don't need it.
What? Yeah. No, because midaraisa you don't even need 40 sa. Midaraisa you don't need 40 sa. They needed 40 saw. That was only for Kli Midyon. Midoraisa, we could use again for Sinu Machtaris, for little things, even though not what? Again, so what neither, but that's for Tumah. That's for Tumah. This is for Kashrus. It's a different musik. Different musik. Again, it's in a good places to know. It gives you a little geschmack here. Okay, now we have two things, two psukim telling me the same thing. We have Tamei Meinida telling me the same thing. What? In addition to going through the fire or Hagala, whatever it is, you got to put in a mikveh afterwards, right? So says the one, why do you need both? It's the Richlamichdev v'toher, it's the Richlamichdev b'meinida. Ikas of v'toher, because if it was just right v'toher, have amina v'toher koldehu. And I would say in anything, just like we do. Therefore it says what? Because Rachmana meinida, it's got to be 40 sa. Because Rachmana b'meinida have amina hair of shemesh, kenida. The nida goes to the mikvah, she has to wait till her of shemesh to eat truma. She can't eat truma right away. Because Rachmana v'toher la'alta, right away. So therefore, each one tells me something the other one does. Amrav Nachman Amrav Avua. Afilu kelim chadashim mashma. Even kelim chadashim that you buy, not kelim that you were used and you're kashering, even new kelim need tefillah. Or, right. The yishanim v'libnon ki chadashim dami. If you take an old kli and you malabin it, it becomes like new. And none v'afilu hachi tefillah, even so you need tefillah. So even if you have a kli, you need tefillah. Maskler a tailor scissor, right? Even a tailor scissor, you would go ahead right and use, and you need to use that in order to go ahead right and put it in the mikvah. Yet we don't. So amalei kli suuda amurim b'parsha, right? It's mashma from the parsha. It says kol davar asher yavai be'esh. Guys, what does that mean? You're not putting a shears in eish. Kol davar yavai be'esh means something that's cooking. Kli suda, kol davar shebe'esh. And since the scissors, you don't go ahead and put an eish, mimei it's not necessary to put it in a mikvah. Amram Nachman Amar Abu, leishanu ela b'loichin u'kamaisha shahaya. Aval she'ulin loy. If you go ahead right and you borrow, if you go ahead and borrow, you don't have to put it in a mikvah. He bought a kli of marda from Rabbi Kechavim. Rashi says the marda was made from dung of an animal. It was made from kli adam. We call it kli adama. Right? Kli adam does not need tefillah, but this is the source. Savala hatfil. He thought you need to go ahead and put it in a mikvah. Amalei Humir Rabban Rabbi Yaakov Shmei l'didim farsh l'minid Rabbi Yochanan kli matchis amurim beparsha. The parsha only is describing what a metal kli that needs the mikvah. Mashen came out a kli adama does not need.
Sell to a guy so you don't have to travel.
What do you mean?
It said that if you
no, this doesn't feel at all.
No. If you have a keli that you can't time for whatever reason, you sell to a guy.
It's his kli, yeah.
During COVID, it's after that. No.
Yeah.
There's no keli mikvah, right?
Right. So what'd you do?
Sold it to the guy.
Already sold it. Right.
Amar Vashi, hani kli schuchis. Okay, now kli schuchis. So we're toivel glass, right? We toivel glass. Why? It's not metal. Because hani kli schuchis hoyel b'chinish tabru yeshlem takana kekli matris dami. Since it's a takana, notice you can go ahead. You break it, and what do? You go ahead the glass. They blow it. You can go ahead and regenerate it. So therefore, it's like kli matris, and therefore we have you put it in a mikvah. Kunya seems to be cheres that's covered with lead. We had it before. And therefore it needs what? It needs it, right? Chilasai. And you don't need tefillah. Earthenware doesn't need tefillah, guys. It's not metal. The chadam kisayfai, right? If the seifa it's covered with lead. Lead is a metal. So the hilchas of kisayfai, it needs what? It needs, I think glaze we paskin off the top of my head, you don't make a bracha. You don't make a bracha. Iboilahu. What?
We'll see. So.
I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't know. Mashkanta mai. Let's say you have a mashkin that you're able to use. What's the din? A guy gives you a mashkin. What's the din? Amar Ravashi Abba Mashkan le'aved kechavim kisa de kaspa. A guy gave my father a silver kli, a silver cup, va'at v'lei vishtibei. He was taivel and he drank from it. V'leidana, and I don't know. Imishim de kasava mashkana kizvina damya. Does he hold the mashkan like a sail, and therefore what you would be taivel it? Imishim de chazil le'aved kechavim de daiti the shekuye, that the guy wanted to keep it by him and not take it back, and therefore that's why he was taivel it. Okay, we'll stop all these.